seconded by Klein. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, minutes are approved from March 3rd. Do we need to do the same for the 19th?
Yes.
Any questions or concerns on that? Anybody want to make a motion there? Okay, Ursula made the motion, Frank seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so the minutes from the 19th also pass. And then we'll swear in anybody who wants to speak. I'm sure you're, oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Good thing we got loud voices. We'll swear in anybody who wants to speak. If you guys want to do that with Mr. Perkins, just make sure you're signed in on the sign-in sheet at the podium. And anybody who is wanting to speak tonight, please follow the directions of Mr. Perkins right now.
Leave, don't say anything. So. Or if not, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the statement you're making tonight to be the truth and the best of your information and belief? Thank you.
Okay. Unless there's anything else, let's go ahead and start with the old application that starts first.
We're just gonna have to tie a pin to this thing. That happens every meeting. Okay.
Good.
The first application this evening is technically somewhat of an item of old business. It's G 2024-16. It is a variance request to our sign ordinance to allow for additional wall signage at the Fairfield Inn at 200 Tiger Way. It is a B2 highway commercial zone property, about 2.5 acres. Again, it's Tiger Way just off Cherry Blossom. Overall, staff recommends denial of the application. So here's the property in question. Just confirming the zone. Again, it's the B2 highway commercial zone, Cherry Blossom there to the west, and to the right there you'll see I-75. And so when we're looking at considering variances, we go by state statute. It's KRS 100.243, and there are very specific findings that must be fulfilled in order for the staff to recommend a approval of a variance and also for the board to consider throughout their discretion. Before any variance is granted, the board must find that the granting of the variance will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare, will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity, will not cause a hazard or a nuisance to the public, and will not allow an unreasonable circumvention of the requirements of the zoning regulations. In making these findings, the board shall consider whether the requested variance arises from special circumstances which do not generally apply to land in the general vicinity or in the same zone. The strict application of the provisions of the regulation would deprive the applicant of the reasonable use of the land or would create an unnecessary hardship on the applicant. And also, if the circumstances are the result of actions of the applicant taken subsequent to the adoption of the zoning regulation from which relief is sought. And lastly, the board shall deny any request for a variance arising from circumstances that are the result of willful violations of the zoning regulation by the applicant subsequent to the adoption of said regulations from which relief is sought. So, thank you for your patience there. It's just very important. Long story short, it is the applicant's burden to provide evidence justifying the findings of fact that would satisfy KRS 100.243. The purpose of these strict standards is to uphold the spirit and broad applicability of the zoning ordinance, but also while allowing for reasonable relief from said organization or ordinances. And an administrative decision granting relief to one having the burden of proof must be supported by findings of fact on substantial evidence. So as the board makes their considerations and their rulings, please make sure we're doing so with findings of fact that can back said ruling. This is an overhead view of the property, kind of a site map of the signage. Some of it that's proposed, items number 7 and 6 to the far east and west, are pre-existing signage. Number 7 to the west there being a monument sign that they're reworking. Number 6 to the east being an interstate sign that's pre-existing, pre-approved. The rest of the signage there is either stuff they're proposing reworking or creating in addition to. So overall 6 signs in total, 4 I believe being the number extra they're seeking. This is a rendering of the frontage along Tiger Way. The north side, non-frontage side. East that faces the interstate. It kind of has an offset aspect to the building construction, so they're requesting 2 signs on this side. And then the south side. Okay. Now, our sign ordinance is very specific about wall signs in terms of allowance. You get up to 150 square feet per sign on each face of the wall. The way we calculate that is each linear foot of frontage you have along a roadway, you get up to 1 square foot of sign with a maximum of 150 square feet. Now, this project site does have about 275 feet along Tiger Way, so they are entitled to 150 square feet on that side. The proposal they brought to us does satisfy that. That is not one of the signs in question. Again, that one's about 72 square feet, so it satisfies the requirements of the ordinance. What kind of the request hinges on here is that no other sides of the building are technically eligible for signage, as they don't have frontage on a public thoroughfare. So the variance requests arise essentially from all the 4 other signs around the building, which would not be allowed by right. So again, let's see, I've already covered the frontage. We've already spoke about the pre-existing freestanding sign, the monument sign, as well as the interstate sign. Both are compliant. However, if the property were to come in and apply today for some new signage, they would not be allowed both the monument sign and the interstate sign. So technically, this property is over the allowance as it is. All in all, staff's find the granting of this variance would not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare, nor alter the essential character of the general vicinity, and will not cause a hazard or nuisance to the public. However, we do find that the requests are an unreasonable circumvention of the requirements of the zoning regulation. Staff believes that the requested relief does not arise from a special circumstance. There are plenty of other hotels in the general vicinity or buildings themselves throughout the city that adhere strictly to the zoning requirements and ordinance, and they don't face any significant hardship as a result. Staff also finds that the existing amount of signage at the project site exceeds current limitations of the ordinance. Again, if they were to come through and apply today with a master sign package, what you see there in its totality would require a variance request as well. So, again, overall, staff recommends denial of the variance request for the additional signage due to the requirements set forth in our city sign ordinance. And if you do choose to approve this application in light of that, we just have our 3 standard conditions of approval for variances here. Essentially, follow all the rules, come back to us if anything changes.
Are any of the proposed signs, 1 through 5, able to be accepted? Like even just one of them, did you say?
The 2 pre-existing freestanding signs,
Right,
the monument sign
6 and 7.
Yes, so those are,
yeah.
you can rework those as they are.
Right.
They're pre-existing. The sign with the frontage on Tiger Way is permissible both by size and location because it does have frontage.
I think that's
West-ish.
1. Is that number 1 on that diagram? You had that. Yeah, that one.
Yes, 1. I
Number
believe.
1 would be something that could be accepted if it was on its own.
Yes.
Without the other.
Yes,
4.
the variance request would be essentially 2, 3, 4, and 5.
I gotcha. Okay.
Excuse me, since I'm taking notes. So number 1 is okay.
Yes, it's
It's the other 3 that would require.
The
variance
other
and not
4.
okay.
Other
it's
4.
the other 4 wall signs that we're requesting.
Numbers 2 through 5.
That's like 7.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions for Rhett or planning and zoning? Does anybody, is anybody here to speak for or against this application? Go right ahead.
I'm Misty Matthews. I'm with Gabbert Signs, here for Fairfield Inn. We will be the ones that will be installing the signage if you all approve. The first one is the one on the front that they approved. It's facing towards Tiger Way. But the owner has changed that a little bit. He does not want all 4 signs no longer. He just wants 2 other signs. I do have the new stuff if you would like.
Besides number 1?
Yes, number 1 had already been approved, but he wants one on the, where number 5 is, he wants that one. And then he wants the other one where number 3 is.
And
So-
2 and 4 would be
Yes,
completely
no longer.
eradicated?
Yes, that
Would
is
they have to-
correct.
Would they have to refile on that for us to hear this, or?
Is it the same area as the ones we're already
Yes.
Thought they just removed the two.
Yes, they just removed the two and then they moved, well, when they redone the thing, they, I rewrote the letter and everything stating where they were at. So number 5 would be 3 and number 3 would be 2. I know it's
Okay.
so confusing, but
That's,
I
that's
do.
okay. We just want to make sure we can hear it, or if it needs to be reapplied for. Go ahead.
Yeah, as this is a removal of information from the case and we can continue to hear it, staff would generally make the same findings and recommendations against the requested additional signs.
Okay.
And we would just like to clarify as well, with this being individual signs, if the board would like to consider them one at a time, staff would be okay with that too.
Okay. But, so you're saying that,
Yes.
you're
Sorry.
saying that, signs 5 and 3 would still be the same size, correct? Sorry, signs, you're saying that 5 and 3, which want to be kept, would be the same size that they are as listed here?
Well, on the new artwork, it shows the size in the proposals. I think that they are exactly the same size,
Okay.
which I did do, like I said, and
All right,
the
so
drawings and everything.
3 is 24 and 5 is, oh gosh, it's different now. Oh, I see. Yeah, I see.
It's not 5 and 2 is 4.
All right, and so they're both 24.
Right.
One of these.
Right.
Well, one of the ones that you wanted to keep was originally number 5 was 36 inches.
Yeah,
and-
but I think
and
that he did go
20
down.
he went 24 on
Yes, I
that,
think he
okay.
did.
All right. But that would still be
Same finding.
because of the allotted amount, not, it has nothing to do with size, it's the allotted amount. Okay. Did anybody have any questions for her, with Gabbard? Did you have anything else that you wanted to add besides that?
No, I think that's about it.
Okay. Is there anybody else here to speak for or against this application? Any thoughts or questions from the board? Okay. Yeah, so I understand wanting, more exposure there, but, we've got to have these in place for the allotted amount of street frontage. And staff said, there was already, an overabundance where if it was applied for today, it would need approval. So I don't know how we need to make this motion. I'm fine with accepting number one as being, accepted and being able to put up there per staff recommendations, but not in the original application 2 through 5.
You can do that with one motion, or you can do one for the approval and
Okay.
others for the denial.
Something to add?
And just to clarify, number 1 is in accordance with our sign ordinance.
It's already there.
And so it may be
Oh.
clear just to deny the variance.
Okay.
And then they would just apply underneath the existing sign standards.
Okay, I understand. So yeah, if you could just remember that, so you guys can reapply for that, that'd be great. But I'll make the motion per staff recommendations to deny this variance, because of staff findings. And I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so that motion will pass as
For
mentioned.
clarification, that was request numbers 3 and 5,
3.
Well, it's gonna be,
or just simply denial of all.
it's gonna be a denial, yeah, so, Holden was suggesting that we deny it, and they would have the ability to reapply for sign 1.
Which would be-
Correct.
Which would be through building inspection. Anything that doesn't need review or variance.
Okay.
Building inspection.
Okay. Yep, so that's great. So if you could
Okay.
go over
Thank
that
you
with
so
them, that'd be
much.
great. You're welcome, thank you. Okay, Mr. Shirley, if you want to continue with the new applications.
Okay, moving right along into our use permit section of the evening. 2025-07, this is in the Marketplace Circle Suites, over there where McAllister's, Roosters, the pet store, all that stuff is. A couple individual storefronts through there. It is a B2 highway commercial zone again, direct access from Marketplace Circle off McClellan. Overall, staff recommends approval. Here's the site in question again. And our zoning confirmed. Conditional uses are those which are essential to or would promote public health, safety, or welfare in one or more zones, but would impair the integrity and character of the zone in which it is located or in adjoining zones, unless restrictions on location, size, and extent, and character performances are imposed in addition to those imposed in the zoning regulation. Essentially, conditional uses may be permitted in districts as designated under the zoning district regulations, but only when specifically approved by the Board of Adjustment, and also subject to the conditions you all place on those which you approve. And these permits are subject to, at minimum, yearly review by staff. Again, kind of to summarize, conditional uses are those that don't typically occur in a zone by right, that we understand could cause some off-site impacts. But between staff recommendations and the hearing in a public forum of the application and the conditions you all impose, we believe those off-site impacts can be mitigated. So again, it's a legal authorization to undertake a conditional use issued by yourselves as well as our office, consisting of two parts. A statement of factual determination by the board which justifies the issuance of the permit, as well as a statement of the special conditions which must be met in order for the use to be permitted. Section 4422 of our ordinance in the B2 zoning district lists non-retail commercial use as a conditional use in said zone. Staff has determined that this type of business falls mostly under this umbrella. Again, project site's a storefront and a multi-tenant space with shared communal parking. Advertised hours for other locations of this business are Monday to Friday, 7:30 to 6, closed on Saturday and Sunday. If the applicant is here or representative thereof, I'll let them clarify this stuff for you. There are other non-retail commercial businesses within the developed and the general vicinity, such as a dentist office, nail salon, tax service, and realtors, et cetera. So while, different businesses don't create precedent, we do kind of take, the character of the area into consideration and the impacts this may cause. So using the space for the operation of a physical therapy center within the requirements set forth by the ordinance as well as conditions imposed by yourselves will promote the public health, safety, and welfare of the general community, nor will it alter the character of the general vicinity. So, approval of the conditional use permit should not or will not adversely impact the public health, safety, or welfare. Again, project sites in a storefront of a multi-tenant space. Proposed conditional use permit for a physical therapy office falls within the category of non-retail commercial, meets the description as such, and shall follow the restrictions as set forth by the ordinance. And again, in the general vicinity, there are other non-commercial retail entities. So again, overall, staff recommends approval of said application. The four conditions you see before you, again, are our standard conditions for approval. Number 4, for conditional use permits being unique in such that if the space is vacated or sold, the use permit does not travel with the land, so to speak. It's with the ownership and the activity. So I'll entertain any questions, and I believe there's representatives here as well.
So, and this had to be applied for because it's considered non-retail?
Yes, technically, at this moment, non-retail businesses, I believe even certain types of professional offices and services are not allowed uses by right in the B2 highway commercial zone. We are kind of taking a look at all of our commercial zones to see, with changing times and things, what may need to be adjusted. But at this time, it is a conditional use.
Okay. Any other questions for Rhett or staff? Is anybody here to speak for or against this application? Go right ahead.
So Chad Thompson, and my current role is with Court Physical Therapy, the applicant. I'm currently the director of our office in Georgetown. We've been in place for 23 years. Forgive me for not being up to date on the non-retail portion, but we do have retail sales in the form of wrist braces, knee braces, traction units, other equipment that may support the care of our patients. We certainly will enhance the public health and safety for the area as my clientele. We need the access corridor on the Midway Versailles side, as well as this end of Georgetown, to further promote well-being of our patients and clients. I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Any questions for the applicant? Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Anybody else to speak for or against? Okay. And this is where the soap place used to be?
No, this is actually where another physical therapy center was
Okay.
replaced, so.
That's what I was gonna say. So I'm Matt Welch, I'm part of the ownership group.
Okay. Well,
This court discovered the discrepancy in the zoning classification during the due diligence. We did have the former tenant was Results Physiotherapy,
okay.
same use. So as Rhett mentioned, we do have several tenants within the retail center that aren't necessarily retail oriented. And we're just trying to dot all of our i's and cross our t's.
Yep.
So I'm happy to answer any questions on behalf of the ownership as well.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Welch.
Just one kind of point of clarification. Again, it is a strange spot in the zone, and while the user does have retail functions through discussions in office, it kind of came down to what is the primary function of the use. And, even if you just sell bottled water, it doesn't necessarily make you retail. Slippery slope kind of thing.
Yeah.
So.
That's okay. Yeah, thank you. We understand. Any other questions or anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
If I could suggest you make part of your motion,
Go ahead.
findings set out in the staff report.
Yes.
Not specifically, just simply say, move to approve based on staff report.
Per staff report, yeah, that's fine. If you want, go right ahead.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion per staff approval.
Excellent.
And I think Urs. Yep. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Thank you guys for coming, appreciate it. Yep.
Okay. On to our next conditional use. Just a point of clarity for the board. This application here has two parts to it. Not only does it have the application which is before you, they are also in the process of a development plan review through the Planning Commission. So as part of their functions that they are establishing, how the use looks in the development plan, this is a request to authorize the use itself. So the main function of the property in question will be for outdoor storage. It is a conditional use in the I-1 zone, and thus here we are in front of you. It's 793A Lemons Mill Road, G-2025-08. It is a light industrial zone property surrounded by some ag and some residential, just a little bit over 5 acres. Again, Lemons Mill Road, just off of McClellan Circle. Overall, staff recommends approval. This is the property in question. You've probably seen it before. There used to be a building there, now there's not, and it's pretty much a vacant parcel with some concrete slab and gravel remainder. Again, light industrial zoned here, and the railroad bed is there to the west. Just that little bit of residential property in question is there to the north. Across Lemons Mill, there's some more. South and east is more industrially zoned property as well. We've already talked about conditional uses, unless y'all have any questions about those and how we determine those. I won't bore you. Section 453 speaks to our light industrial zone. Again, outdoor storage is a conditional use. It is a function within the zone that we understand can cause off-site impacts that we seek to mitigate. Typically with outdoor storage, those are visual aspects. So again, in order to be considered, the storage must be incidental and accessory to the principal use of the property, and also shall not be visible from any right-of-way or adjacent area of different zoning classes. Board of Adjustment may impose any reasonable conditions to provide the required screening, and we'll get to more as our ordinance speaks in just a moment. Screening utilized to prevent visibility of the outdoor storage may consist of earthen mounds, planting, fencing, or walls. Storage area boundaries must satisfy the minimum setback requirements of the zone. And what that means in plain language is that any dimensional restrictions that would normally be placed on buildings, things under roof, these containers or other storage areas must be set back that far as well. That allows the same type of screening that you would see to kind of screen a building from right-of-way or adjoining properties, things of that nature. Makes it easier to screen, that way you don't have things right up against property boundaries that are shadowing over, things of that nature. Let's see here. Again, specifically, our landscape ordinance states that outdoor storage areas in industrial zones, which we're talking about here, shall be screened by a solid wall or fence not less than 6 feet in height. This is an overview of the site plan that they have submitted as part of their development plan. Again, they pretty well intend to just reuse the site as is with minimal improvements. There'll be some stormwater and runoff containment areas that'll be put in place per our ordinance and reviewed by the engineer. But for the most part, it's pretty well going to remain how it is. A little bit of improvement of the gravel area and the concrete areas, no structures to be added. Again, the principal use of this property will just be for storage of containers. I'll let the applicant speak more to that. Again, the project site does adjoin other I-1 properties to the south and east, railroad bed to the west, and a little bit of residential to the north there in the curve of Lemons Mill. We don't have any additional screening requirements for I-1 to I-1, except for as spoken to directly in the conditional use requirements for the outdoor storage, nor the railroad bed. But we do have specific requirements for those that adjoin residential properties. Again, so this is a two-part application. Really, a lot of this stuff is development plan stuff, but I felt that it's important for you guys to understand the whole ball of wax when you're considering approval of the use and how we'll protect those around them moving forward through the other processes. So a minimum buffer area of 10 feet in width is required adjacent to all common boundaries when you're talking residential stuff. Specifically, one tree every 40 feet. We have a plantings manual that's kind of regionally been established, mostly through the Lexington Fayette Urban County Government. And so we have a really nice list of trees and plantings they can choose from there. That'll be really nice. Plus, they also have to have a 6-foot tall, high, continuous hedge fence wall or earth mound to achieve the opacity. Now, this screening is in addition to the outdoor storage screening stuff. So it's in addition to the fence, et cetera. This is intentional or additional zone-to-zone screening that you have to do throughout the development plan process. So just wanted to make y'all aware of the whole ball of wax. And again, this is just a little bit of a closer in view of the residential property to the north. The property in question does sit kind of high. So, we'll work with the applicant to achieve the intent of the ordinance and protect those that adjoin while also being safe and, cosmetically reasonable. I don't think anybody wants castle walls. I was talking to Elise earlier that, the gate like from Jurassic Park. So while we don't really want something that substantial, we want to be reasonable and accomplish the goals of the ordinance here. Again, we're going through the development plan process. I'll let the applicant or the representative kind of speak more to their intentions. Essentially, it's not storage containers like individual person rentals. It's pretty well like shipping container styles. Again, I'll let them elucidate more on this. The way I understand it, and staff as a whole understand it, is it's kind of a holding area for big box stores like Walmart, et cetera, that when they do seasonal changeover, things of that nature, they call these folks up, say, hey, I need 80 boxes, and the boxes disappear. They go away for a while. Sometimes they come back. It's been described to me as a one-person job, one forklift, one truck. Again, no structures. I kept pushing and pushing and pushing to get this young man or lady a bathroom, but I think they're just going to rent porta potties. So again, only one employee any given time. Hours of operation have been described to staff as 6 a.m. till 4 p.m. on weekdays only. All in all, staff has found that approval of the conditional use permit will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare, nor will it alter the character of the general vicinity. It is a vacant industrially zoned property with certain rights, uses by right, and also things that are conditional. Section 453 addresses this zone and outdoor storage as a conditional use, which is allowable as long as all the conditions that staff recommends and the board imposes are met. And again, all in all, staff recommends approval of said application. Same standard 4 requirements, conditions of approval. Again, with number 4 being that the permit doesn't travel with the land, it runs with the ownership. So if the project site was ever sold, et cetera, they would have to come in and reapply or discontinue use.
And did you say that them being stacked too high was part of the conditional use permit?
No, it's just any outdoor storage at all,
Okay.
That need to be screened. I'll let the applicant kind of speak more to their
Okay.
exact intentions. However, staff does have concerns with if there's too many containers stacked, on top of each
yeah.
other. Again, going back to Jurassic Park and castles, it's kind of hard to screen that appropriately without getting real crazy.
Right.
So staff would be inclined to also recommend, I don't believe it was in the conditions, obviously, that potentially some restrictions in height be imposed, whether you
Okay.
do by number of containers
Yeah.
or feet in general. But maybe through some discussion with the applicant, we can get there.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions for Brett at this time? Does the applicant wish to speak on it? Go ahead.
I won't say a whole lot. I'm David Lusby. I'm one of the owners. I've got Matt Welch and Matt Stone here with me tonight. We do have two other partners. This property has a history. I don't know if you remember how bad it was at one time, but it's been for sale for many years. And I don't know if the property was ever condemned, but it was in such bad shape that we literally had to tear the whole building down. The roof was caving in. Matter of fact, during our due diligence period, the roof actually collapsed. And so anyway, the gentleman that helped us clean it all up is here tonight, Willis Baston. He's actually our neighbor to the west. So we think we've taken probably one of the most blighted properties in Georgetown, and we've tried to turn it into something positive. We've got a group out of Winchester that is relocating, as Rhett mentioned, onto the site. So we've turned it from really nothing into something. We've cleaned it up. We're going to continue to landscape it, beautify it, and we're going to follow the request of staff. So anyway, we'll be glad to try to answer any questions you may have.
So, do you know, the building's still, is it still there?
Building's totally gone.
Totally gone.
It was an
So-
80-some thousand square foot building, 80-some thousand
Right.
square foot concrete pad.
So, do you have any idea where on the plot they're planning to put the storage containers?
If you can kind of tell where the concrete pad is, they will be on a concrete pad. There'll be
Okay.
they won't be on gravel or anything else. It'll be on a nice, clean concrete pad,
And it'll be basically in the center of the lot?
pretty much.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
and I promise you, this is gonna look so much better than the building that was there.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. But when we're done with it, in a few years, as the landscaping matures, it probably won't
Yeah.
be seen much at all.
And then all the containers are empty?
From what we understand, they
right?
are, yes.
That's what it said in the letter.
Yeah, they use them for storage at off-site locations, Targets, Walmarts, places like that.
Right. And then, they won't exceed 2 stack in height, is that correct?
If that's the request of planning and zoning, then we'll
Okay.
certainly adhere to that.
And do you know about how many, containers might be on site at one given time?
That's a good question. It's gonna be kind of a fluid process because
Right.
they're gonna be coming and going, so I don't really know that answer.
A maximum, I
No.
think, yes.
I think there's 6 away from having all the containers to that site. I've gotten to know, since I'm the guy on the property in the back, I've gotten to know the site guy rather well. And there's 6 containers away from having all of the containers on the site.
Which would be how many, do you know?
I think it's about 300.
300? Okay.
But as soon as Walmart calls here shortly, and they've got every Walmart in the whole area, and they'll take anywhere from 10 to 40. So what's gonna happen is it's gonna be a mass exodus of all of them.
Right, it could go down to 250.
Or no, it'll go down to, an empty lot.
Oh, okay.
Empty lot, they'll clean it out.
So it could be back and forth, but possibly up to 300.
Usually the busy season or
Right.
whatever, and they'll keep them through Christmas, and they may
Okay.
come back in the spring or something, and then they'll pick them back up again, from what
Okay.
he told me.
And can you state your name for Charlie?
Willis Baston, Bastan.
Okay,
I
thank
didn't
you.
mean to interrupt, I just.
Yeah.
he talked
No,
to me
no, that's helpful. That's helpful.
Yeah, and the volume of those containers won't even be close to the volume of the building that was there before, if that makes sense. You could easily
Right.
put these containers inside that building with plenty of volume left over. It's a
Any-
much improved situation. Matter of fact, it was a contaminated site,
Yeah.
as you probably know, and it wasn't being monitored. Now we've got it tied in. It's part of a brownfield redevelopment. I mean, it's a success story, and we just need your help to get over the finish line.
Any other questions for the applicant specifically?
Yeah, the question I have, how big are these containers?
What are they, 30 feet?
20 foot, 40 foot.
Okay.
I think it was
so I'm
in-
familiar. I have a background in logistics, so I'm kind of familiar with how you get connexes and containers in and out of places.
Right.
So you're talking about a pretty significant operation, like when you're talking about when it happens.
Yeah,
Well, when they pull in,
Right,
they pull right up onto the slab, and then they have everything in a horseshoe.
right.
And they don't have anything more than too high. They're all empty. And what they do is they stack them in a certain way. If somebody orders 40s, they get the first 40s.
Right.
Right out, they need 20s, they take the 20s, they ship them out.
And that one person that's gonna work there, he's gonna like monitor if anything comes back in those containers?
well, there shouldn't be anything coming back in those containers.
Yeah, it's said in the letter.
And I know it says it's
Yeah.
not, but
Yeah,
that doesn't
but we
mean
could-
necessarily it's
Yeah.
not. You know what I mean?
Well,
The
yeah.
drivers check them before they
Yeah.
come back, and they have to
Right.
clean them out before they bring them back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Uh,
just talking as,
I understand.
because, I mean, property sometimes has a way of kind of coming and going and stuff like that. I'm just thinking more in terms of
Yeah.
like anybody in the surrounding area, people that's trying to be mischievous, you know, stuff coming and going. If this is, word gets out that this is storefronts that are that are coming and getting them and stuff like that, I know nothing's probably gonna come back in them, but
Yeah, and we could put that in
It's,
the motion, and I did circle a part in the letter here from Benedict Enterprises that said,
Right.
furthermore, since we only store empty containers, and then there are no concerns regarding fumes and all that stuff.
Yeah, the other thing I'll say is Lemons Mill Road, as you may recall, several years ago, had dramatic improvements, the stacking lane, the light signalization, all that stuff. So it's kind of a perfect site
yeah.
for this type of operation.
And I happened to pass through there the other day, and I wonder what happened to that building.
Yeah.
I did. I looked, I said, what happened to that dilapidated building that was there? And it's funny it's now.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mom worked there when it was it City Electric, Charlie? Is that what it was called? And I believe you told me you there, yeah.
Most god-awful place I ever.
So I did. I was like, what happened to the building? Okay.
I didn't last long.
Yeah. You
Thank
did
you.
well.
Is there anybody else to speak for or against the application? Go right ahead.
I'm Willis Baston. We have the property in the back. We're all for it. We think it's a good use for that. The only issue we have is we have a few ingress and egress issues that we'd like to see resolved before the final development plan.
Does that have to involve with us and
No,
any?
that'll all be taken care of on the
Okay.
development.
Right, but I just wanted to bring that up today and say that I am for that.
Gotcha.
And I've met the site manager, and he's on top of things. They run a pretty tight operation, and I kind of like having them as neighbors, and they block the view. We're kind of in the back, you know.
And do you have the map that you could, the map that you could pull up? You're located to the north or the south there?
Actually, it's south.
South, right? Yeah.
Right here.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else here to speak for or against?
I just want to say one administrative thing. We've mentioned several potential new condition additions, so just
Yeah.
a general recommendation on the motion is if you motion to approve, you would say like approve with the findings, and then you can add additional conditions as part of your motion.
Yeah, I think, I don't wanna speak for everybody, but I think we like that it's stacked too high. There's probably gonna be a max of 300. I don't know if I wanna put a specific number on that, but we could. And then also that they're gonna remain empty. I don't, cause if they're gonna start having stuff in there, then I guess it should come back to us for additional approval. Would you think that that was all right?
If you're approving the application, it is to have empty. So if
Okay.
they start, and I frankly don't understand what the big thing is about that, but if they start bringing in stuff and storing stuff, that's a violation of the approval. So we can then take it up to empty.
But do we have to mention that in our motion?
No, that's their application, 300 empty containers.
Is
So
that correct?
That's what we're approving.
I don't know if that's specific in the,
I don't know if the application was that specific to the
Yeah.
number.
Well, I'm sorry, not the number, but empty. The application says empty, so that's all.
okay, the application did say empty.
And for us to put on a number, we have to have some sort of findings of fact as to
Okay.
the number. So if we don't really have that, I think we leave that to the development plan also.
Okay.
We're really just talking about the use, period.
How about the stacking?
I'm not so sure development plan, but that, I got to admit, it's pretty high, that's when you have hard to screen and hard to.
I would agree.
So I don't really have any problem with you adding in there, you know, too high.
Okay, okay,
Otherwise, I have to leave it all for the development.
okay.
Matt Welch
Go ahead,
again.
Matt, yep.
The tenant, Benedict, did confirm that they are only going too high.
Okay.
Okay.
We can still put, we'll still put it in our motion then if we do that, but yeah.
Pretty high, way too high.
Yeah.
They don't wanna do that, I mean, that is a Jurassic.
Might put it
story
there
we
to
talked about.
cover our bases, so.
They're just going too high, they're fine with too high, they got plenty of room,
Okay,
and it looks pretty good too if you go out there.
go ahead.
Okay, I just want to ask a question. So you said fencing to keep it, you know, cosmetically looking good. Is that fencing and trees? Because I also see 6 feet apart trees, or is that just part of the ordinance that either or?
The fencing is specific to the outdoor storage component.
Right.
But throughout the development plan process, there are property line screens and things that are required as part of that. And then, of course, the industrial to residential has some pretty specific requirements too.
Okay.
So when you put it all together, you'll have both.
Okay, that's
So,
what I thought you said.
yes,
I wanted to
but
make
the
sure
fence
that-
is explicit for the,
Okay.
yes.
The
yes, ma'am.
fence I thought was explicit, but I wanted to make sure the trees also. in there.
Yes,
Okay.
there will be interior landscaping, landscaping in vehicle use areas, perimeter landscaping requirements, all serve different functions. So,
Okay.
okay?
I hate coming up against you. I don't do it very often, so I'm scared. The application says requesting a conditional use permit to allow Benedict Enterprises, Inc., BEI, to operate a logistics support operation and to facilitate the temporary outdoor storage of shipping containers.
And their exhibit to that in support of just exactly what they're doing, that's the one that said
So,
empties and so on.
okay, so
Yeah, I still think we're good.
we don't have to mention that,
I mean,
and
you can, but. I
What do
don't
you all
it's
think?
needed. I think they said, in their supporting documents, they said they're
Okay.
gonna be, so we take them at their
It's a
word, we
supporting
approve their
document.
application,
Right.
and they're in violation if they do
Then
otherwise.
we
Okay.
pull it, right.
so with all that being said, then I'll make a motion to approve, unless anybody else says anything. Per staff recommendations, with the addition of no more than a 2-high stack for those containers.
Second.
And Clem seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you, guys. All right, Mr. Shirley, one more. Go ahead, what'd you say?
I was gonna say, we're sorry, we got rid of Bill first.
Okay, our final application and our last conditional use permit request for the evening is over in Paynes Landing Boulevard, 222, G-2025-09. This is a request to allow for a federal firearms licensee business as a home occupation. It is a medium density residential zone as a planned unit development, R2 specifically. You know, your typical in-town lot, just under a quarter acre. Paynes Landing Boulevard, direct access, US 460 arterial, and overall, we recommend approval. This is the property in question. Again, R2 PUD, planned unit development. We've discussed conditional use permits and the findings of fact necessary to permit those and the conditions to be imposed. Section 435 is what governs the R2 zone in our ordinance, and home occupations are listed as a conditional use in said zone. They're defined as a professional office with one professional with no staff, studio or personal services maintained or conducted within a dwelling or accessory building. And they must meet the following conditions. The occupation must be incidental to the principal residential use, so it can't just be the whole house or whole property used for the occupation. It's kind of accessory and incidental too. Specifically limited to 25% of the ground floor area, however, in no event to exceed 300 square feet. You know, so if it's a garage operation and things of that nature, you do taxes in your house, you can kind of grasp the scope there. The home occupation shall result in no exterior evidence except a wall sign, not to exceed 5 square feet in area that can identify the home occupation. Complete sign information, of course, is in our ordinance here. I've brought it with us just in case. Or did I? Maybe not. The home occupation shall not generate any atmospheric pollution, light flashes, glare, odor, noise, vibration, truck, or other heavy truck traffic. I always say, you know, sight, sounds, and smells. At the end of the day, these permits are under the jurisdiction of the ATF. They also have a very specific branch that oversees these operations called the FFLC. Essentially, they review, issue, and renew said licenses in accordance with the Gun Control Act of 1968. I've done my best to provide you all with information from these governing bodies to kind of wrap your head around exactly how that process works, if and when you choose to approve the application. If you have any further questions in regard to those, I would say the applicant is more the expert than I am. However, I'm glad to answer anything I can. From my understanding, the FFLC does maintain a database, coordinates background checks, does field checks, things of that nature, both local, regionally, and beyond. So, and there's also a call center, that addresses citizen concerns, things of that nature, maintains the records, things of that. So there are, I believe, I don't remember exactly how many different types of these licensees there are, but as staff read through the descriptions, it seemed that type 7 most closely fit what they're requesting to do, which is the intent to conduct strictly internet-based sales for custom fit, customization of firearms, things of that nature, 3D printing, other stuff like that. The applicant anticipates about 12 orders a month with limited outbound shipments from the home itself. They've expressed that any larger volume than normal, they'll probably just take to a establishment that's licensed to ship said products and do it off-site. There is no storefront aspect or foot traffic. And should the applicant receive approval for the conditional use, they will then take this information to the ATF, et cetera, for further consideration. So at this time, they don't have any paperwork from the ATF unless things may have changed to present you at this time. So overall, granting a conditional use permit to allow for this type of license and business as a home occupation at said address within the requirements set forth by the ordinance will not adversely affect public health, safety, or welfare, nor alter the character of the general vicinity. The approval of the conditional use permit literally just said that. Project site is an R2 zone parcel. Section 435 of the ordinance governs the R2 zone as well as defines the conditional uses to include home occupations as described before. Staff has determined that a home-based FFL business, as described by the applicant, fits the definition of a home occupation. Staff does recommend approval. We don't have any additional conditions that we have suggested to impose, again, beyond our normal 4. The sign ordinance will control the signage. The applicant has stated the volume of traffic and or shipping and receiving, and they can elaborate more on that as well. As such, staff feels that it kind of fits there within that sandbox that they've requested to play in. And again, most importantly, as far as conditional uses go, they don't run with the land, they run with the ownership.
Any questions for Rhett specifically? Okay. Is the applicant here to speak? I'm sure we'll probably have some additional questions. Go right ahead.
Hello, my name is George Mangos. I'm one of the owners of this FFL business that we'd like to start. What I would like to say is that the business itself is starting out of necessity to facilitate what we thought would be a hobby. There's an interest in 3D printed frames to make them different sizes or to make what's known as fantasy weapons from games or movies, things of that sort. As we were looking into how to do this, we can 3D print for ourselves without any issue, but if we do anything beyond our immediate selves, like to sell or charge people for the service to print, then we are subject to the ATF and the FFL. So in order to make sure that we meet those requirements, which includes the proper background checks to make sure that criminals aren't getting a hold of these types of firearms without the proper procedures, we want to make sure that we're following all the expectations. So again, as Reddit stated, right now we are expecting maybe less than a dozen a month to create these small firearms. There will be no ammo that's being created. It's just using stock ammo that people would go get in the stores, so it's not like we have to customize any ammo. And also I want to point out that from an actual manufacturing perspective, this is 3D printed, and it's not a big effort. It's a little bit bigger than a toaster oven. The material is very small, and there's no waste. In fact, currently the material that we use is 2012 OSHA certified as being non-hazardous. and it comes out to less than a half a pound of waste a month. So, we want to make sure that we're not causing any issues to satisfy this small market of people that would like to have, a little bit more of a customized firearm, but that can also legally have that customized firearm.
So this is a firearm made on a 3D printer. They'll all be made on a 3D printer.
Yes, the outer frame will be made on the 3D printer, and then the internals will be purchased through suppliers. We won't be creating those. We'll be
You're just
installing.
creating the frame
Yes.
and no ammo.
We won't be creating ammo. We'll, just like any other homeowner would have some ammo to go test down at Bud's, but.
And are you assisting with any licenses?
How so?
Firearm licenses?
No, we'll need the FFL to sell the product as well as to manufacture the product.
Okay.
So that's the FFL 1 and the FFL 7, which is to sell the product, which goes through the background checks and things of that sort, as well as to manufacture, meaning that we meet the ATF requirements and expectations.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant?
One final note, if it does seem like we're blessed with a larger business, we do anticipate to find a different facility that we won't keep it in the home, for obvious reasons.
Okay. Go ahead.
So the frames and stuff you're talking about, will this be for like the buttstock of a weapon, like modified ammunition case? Do you ever
No.
expect to ever do anything like that?
No, the only thing that we might look into is the SOT, which is the special occupational tax for like suppressors. But very honestly, anything else beyond that will be staying at just the pistol size itself. We won't be doing any additional modifications that could violate any kind of particular ATF regulations.
That's all I have.
And there wouldn't be any other type of weapon?
No.
It's just a firearm, no knives or anything like that, or?
No,
Okay.
no. And the ATF has, the FFLs, there's several different levels, things that include like explosives and grenade launchers and stuff like that. We're not doing anything of the sort.
Okay.
But it is very prescriptive of what can or can't be done within the license.
Okay. Thank you. Is anybody else here to speak for or against applicant?
Well, I'm not in favor of it.
Okay.
Living on the street.
You can, you can come up, one at a time, and just state your name and go right ahead.
I'm Jane Wilkerson. I live on the street, and several of the neighbors are very concerned. And who's going to regulate it after, say, months down the road? And the safety of it. Who says that, if somebody can break into his house, and does he live in the neighborhood? I know the relationships there, but
Okay.
I think it's a safety thing, and who's going to regulate him
And
further down the road,
And where are you located there?
across the street?
Across the street, okay.
What was your name again?
Jane Fulkerson.
And so just real quick, so do you, Mr. Mangos, do you live at the property?
My son does.
Your son does, okay, okay.
And as far as the safety and regulation, where these will be made is in what's, it's like a basement. I don't know what the proper word is, but it's underground and pushed in, and then there's a hillside that comes down. So there's no windows on the room where these would be created, and there's a lock on the door, and it is all like cinder block or whatever the foundation of a house is from a basement perspective. As far as regulations go, as mentioned, the ATF will be providing us with guidelines for audits and things of that sort. So there will be audits to ensure safety is being met. There's going to be, from what I understand, after this process, if you approve it, when we engage the ATF for the FFL, they'll assign us a contact based out of, I believe it's Lexington, who will be nearby, who will be coming on site to ensure that we're meeting or exceeding what their requirements are for safety and adherence to the policies.
And you have not done that, you can't do that until?
I can't do that until
Right.
you
Okay.
grant the approval, sir.
Okay. Did somebody else want to speak?
I'm Jackie Moore. I live two houses down.
Okay.
What about the 3 children that live in that house? Are they going to be able to get these guns and play with them, thinking they are toys? We've had problems with one of the children already in the neighborhood who have stolen things.
Okay.
So we are concerned about that. The house right next door has 3 little children. Are these things going to be able to be completely locked up in your house?
Yes, ma'am, as stated, it will be locked in a cement area.
How about the 3 children that live upstairs?
The 3 children upstairs don't have access to the downstairs. It's a separate.
It used to be open. I
It's
was
no
in that
longer
house.
open. It's no longer open.
So you're guaranteeing that those 3 children will never see any of these guns?
The only way those children upstairs could see those guns is if they illegally come downstairs, just like if they went into your house and saw your guns. Yes, ma'am.
And is it true that there would be no ammunition that can trigger these weapons? Is that correct?
We're not expecting to store, ammunition, like stockpile ammunition. I mean, I don't wanna say that because of a personal keeping a handgun that they will never have ammunition in their home. I don't know that.
Right.
What if this child finds ammunition?
Well, again, the child would be trespassing, and I think that would be a different situation if the child came into a locked home.
The items that
No, I mean the child that's in the home.
the items that you're making,
Yes, sir.
can ammunition be used in them to be fired?
They're
I guess.
9mm guns, yes, sir, if I may.
Okay.
That's a good question.
So as this nice lady had pointed out, the home itself was an individual home at one time, and since you've been in,
I was in it, yes.
when were you in it?
Before it was made over, the people that lived there.
When was that approximately?
2 years ago?
2 years ago. So approximately 6 months ago, we went ahead and closed off the downstairs completely. There's 2 locked doors before getting to the 3rd locked door where the facility would be of this item that will be created.
Sliding doors in the back.
No, those are locked as well. There's no sliding doors that I'm aware of downstairs. Well, again, you said 2 years ago. I don't know what it looked like 2 years ago. I could tell you what it looks like now and what we've done. And there's no sliding doors. And as mentioned, to get from inside the house to the downstairs, you would go through 3 locked doors. And again, those areas are now considered separate units. So it would have to be that somebody is trespassing illegally. I don't know how else to explain it except that, it's like if somebody breaks into your house to get something, you only have a certain level of responsibility there. We have put 3 levels of responsibility with the 3 locked doors. And again, I don't know if basement is the right word for it, but where we're at is actually under the ground. And even though it's a hill in the back, it's surrounded by cement walls and there's no windows. So there's no other way for anybody to get in. I have 3 kids and I understand the concern. And I'd like to say something else too, and not to embarrass myself, but I was against any kind of firearms whatsoever up until probably the past year. And I'm pretty old. So, after seeing what the technology was and seeing how it is and how it's safe and following the rules and the guidance of the ATF to ensure safety and that guidelines and safety are adhered to, because that's other things the ATF wants to ensure is the safety of what it is that we're doing and who gets those. We want to make sure that we are compliant. So we're not looking for ways to circumvent, we're looking for ways to be compliant.
Okay.
So once you assemble these parts or print these parts and you assemble them, will you be doing firing and testing?
Not on site, no, sir. No.
Okay, so you'll take that, once you get to that stage of assembly, you'll be taking it to a gun range?
Yes, sir.
Registered gun range?
Yes.
So it won't be any testing or firing in the?
No firing whatsoever on the premises. I mean, unless somebody breaks in illegally, but no firing at all.
And I understand the concern, the trepidation, and the guns that are being manufactured as far as the children in the house go, that would be similar to any house that has a weapon, a gun in the house. I don't think we can do anything to say about the children that are actually living in the house. So I just wanted to say that.
Mr. Chairman, if I can just throw one additional thing, Kentucky law is very favorable to such licenses. We even have our own statute. First off, Kentucky doesn't require anything. In fact, Kentucky prohibits any of us from really doing much. And the statute in specific says that basically we're prohibited from regulating federal license holders except to the extent that we would govern a beauty parlor in that house or some other commercial use.
At the same time, you mean?
No.
No.
If a commercial use can go into a residential zone, we can do parking, traffic, noise, signs. We can't do any more to this use than we can to them. And in saying that, I used to argue, no, we can do something. And researching it, no, we can't. We have simply no jurisdiction over that. So as far as who regulates, well, that's ATF, that's the feds, that's not us.
Right.
We can do what we can do against any other commercial use that would otherwise be approvable as a conditional use. We can't go beyond something that is targeted toward a federal licensed firearms dealer, period. That's state law. So
I got you.
that pretty well closes out what we can do about it. Even though I understand the concerns, but we don't.
Right. Yeah, no, that's very well said.
Mr. Perkins, that does not preclude the office's right to conduct a minimum yearly review of permits, though, correct?
No, but it's gonna be for parking, it's gonna be for,
Right.
the same kind of violations that we did with, the last beauty shop or, whatever, we've done.
Yeah, I just wanted to put that out there,
No,
both for the
no,
board
absolutely.
and the general public, that our office does reserve the right and is empowered to, at minimum, yearly inspection of, or review, of permit holders and permits that have been issued. Mr. Perkins, I don't know, like you say, can't go above and beyond if.
Well, you can't target something that
Right.
is gun-related, basically.
Right.
You can
So-
only do it based upon a commercial use in a
Right.
residential zone.
Okay.
And then, Mr. Mangos, in the original application, it says no storefront or foot traffic. Is that still accurate?
Yes, we are only going to be going online. If, for some reason, we find there's a need for a storefront, which honestly I don't believe there will be, but at that time, then we will find a proper space.
So these 12 orders that you're doing per month, there will be no physical person, client, customer that'll be at the location?
Correct.
And
They'll
then-
be just requesting it through online.
And you'll just mail it.
Yes, yes. And the shipping itself also is, it is protected and controlled. You can't just ship a firearm. Like I couldn't just mail a firearm. I have to go through the license process. So there are guides in place to help us ensure the safety, yep. Because I'm with you. I want people to be safe.
Is there, on, Rhett, you brought up letter B there, that they could have a wall sign, correct?
Yes.
Is that a plan of yours to have a wall sign?
We're not going to have a wall sign. In fact, we prefer to be low-key. I think you'd mentioned about teenagers in the area, something to that effect. Another thing that we're going to look into. Yes. Another thing we're going to look into after we meet with the ATF is setting up cameras for the immediate vicinity to ensure, again, more ways that we can ensure the safety of ourselves and the others. I mean, nobody wants to have any problems.
So I'm understanding no sign is going up?
Correct, no sign.
I don't know if we can put that as a condition, since he's allowed to do it. Obviously, it can't exceed more than 5 square feet, but.
I mean, if he hadn't asked for a sign, then we don't need to approve one,
Okay.
so.
Yeah.
And we don't need to deny
Did you have
one,
one?
he just
Yeah,
didn't
I do
ask
have
for it.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So you said it'd be about 12 units a month?
We're
I was getting ready to, that's my question. How did you come to that number?
We're thinking, we base this on, right now, what it appears that the niche market is. It really is a niche market. It's not like somebody who would go into Buds or Cabela's or Academy and look for specific types of firearms. It's more of somebody who wants something that's bespoke, a little bit more customized for them specifically, which based on our research, isn't a large chunk of the market. Now, if that changes, again, you know, as I mentioned, we will, our intention is that we would move out of the occupational permit area and go to a commercial. We wouldn't want to disrupt ourselves or somebody else. This, as I said, this is a little bit more of a hobby, but to fulfill the hobby needs, we want to make sure that we're meeting the expectations of the ATF, which is by getting the FFL, which means that we need the approval of this body of government here.
Okay. Sure, is there anything we can put in our motion pertaining to keeping it locked? We can't do that, right?
State law says we can't do it.
Okay.
So if we could tell a beauty shop, you got to lock up your chair, then we can't do it here.
Okay.
I mean, it's absurd.
No, I just want to make sure, I get it.
But
I
it is
understand.
state law and we're bound by it.
Follow up on that. My name's Mike Cropper. I represent the homeowners association for Payne's Landing, for which this property is part of.
Is it your name?
Do you want to?
I'm sorry.
That's what I was
Thank you.
Question.
Do you have his name, Charlie?
I didn't think so.
Are you on the sign-in sheet?
I didn't. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I can
That's right. Go right ahead. Come up here real quick and just, yep.
Oh, I'm sorry, just you swear affirm.
I did. I did stand up for that part.
And your last name again?
Cropper, C-R-O-P-P-E-R.
Okay.
Very good.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Go right ahead.
There are deed restrictions for the property that do pertain to businesses. I was just curious how that, if you know how that interacts.
That's your business.
Okay.
That, we can't stop you, we can't start you. If
I understand.
you have
I just knew you
restrictions,
were very familiar with the
those are
law
private
portion.
contracts between you and your residents. Again, that's nothing we can
Yeah.
affect one way or the other.
Yeah, I just was curious with your reading of the law, how that particularly.
No, this statute deals with local governments, state
Okay.
government. Nobody in a official capacity can do anything about that, any more than, again, the beauty shop. That does not affect homeowners associations. You can do what your contracts,
Okay.
and whatnot allow.
Fair enough. Just to speak for the neighborhood, that particular address has had a history of some, we'll say, nefarious activities in the past. So there's some tendency of the residents to be a little leery of, particularly a firearm business going in. As it's described, it doesn't sound like something that we would necessarily be against, but it does potentially fall against our CCRs. That's something that we'd like to speak to you about, to make sure we're along those lines. But that would explain some of the apprehension. And then also, as he stated, it is a dual living facility now. You have a family that is living above, it is separated, and that has made people kind of nervous as well, as if you have this operation going on with, it's not just a single occupation house, there are two households potentially in that house. I know he has taken steps to guard that, but again, it is no longer just a single family home, it is now a dual residence location. So kind of our points from the neighborhood there, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just to add to that, thank you, Mr. Crawford. Just to add to that, we did go through the homeowners association before we even came here for your time. So there was nothing there that we saw that would be concerns. Also, just want to point out, based on the ownership and any prior issues, my son just purchased that home in December. So we don't know what happened before, but we're taking the precautions ourselves as we think we should, not for anything else that we heard about in the area. So that's why, as I mentioned, before you even can get to where these guns will be housed, you'll have to go through 3 doors, 3 locked doors. You know, and as I mentioned before, we're going to be looking into putting in security cameras, you know, without causing issue to anybody in the neighborhood or the immediate area, but just to make sure that if we have security concerns, we can monitor them. So we are thinking in terms of security, but we're not expecting, we're not aware of any types of issues that might be a concern.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Anything? The board? Any other questions, or anybody want to make a motion?
Could I speak just a few minutes?
Sure, go ahead.
My name's Walter Stone, and I live across the street. 3 years ago, we had a family next door to
Do
me.
you swear affirm, Walter?
Pardon?
Do you swear affirm?
Oh, yes, I did.
All right, of course you
Can you see me?
And is he on the sheet? Is he on the sheet there, Charlie?
What?
Is he on there?
He is now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But we had a problem. Our next door neighbor had a dog. As soon as Toyota turned out at 2:30 in the afternoon on Fridays, we had as many as 11 automobiles. And I don't know how many dogs, but I know it was 11 dogs. And another neighbor said it was more than that. And Sunday and Monday, those dogs were picked up again. That was a business. And everybody on that street that bought a house, including me, her, and the other lady that talked a minute ago, we bought in that area because no business. Now, it's up to you all to decide from there. But I know we had a problem with the dogs. It did take us a few years to get it taken care of, thank you. But it was taken care of. But it was business. Dogs going in and out, and the smell was pitiful, not only on my street, but on 2 or 3 streets around, the smell of those dogs. And she was taking care of them, feeding them, and they was using the bathroom. They had to do that. But the backyard was full of dogs, as many as 10 or 12 at one time. They had to go in and out of the house Saturday, Sunday, and 12 o'clock Monday, they was pretty well disappeared. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not against what he wants to do, but I'm against where I live to protect my interest in living in one of the prettiest areas in Scott County, Paynes Landing Boulevard. Thank you.
Okay, I understand. Thank you. Yeah, it was, I don't know about the previous, instance with the dogs. I mean, we can really only focus on the application we have here. And I'm sure staff has said this many times, but this is not going to be a zone change. It's just a conditional use permit if approved. It's not gonna change the residential zoning to a business zoning or anything like that. It's just a conditional use permit, to allow them to do it if they're within the parameters. Anybody else? Any other questions from the board, or anybody ready to make a motion?
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
So the children upstairs, those are your children, sir? No?
No, sir.
It's an entirely different family?
Yes, sir.
One other word, maybe. I go through the planning and zoning book with the master commissioners, everybody, and that house is in Lisa's name.
That's Lisa and John.
Lisa Marie.
Yes, and John. Lisa's
See,
his mom.
so she's the one who owns the house, and that.
No, it's Lisa and John. It's in both of their names.
Oh, well, I didn't see John on it, I saw Lisa.
Well, John
Lisa
is
Marie.
on it.
Yeah, but
That's why he's
anyway,
here.
that's what the planning and zoning and the courthouse says, is who owns the property, But George owns the property in, McCullough Springs.
Yes,
That's me.
Yeah.
look it up here. Staff, did you have anything else to add? Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, just a quick administrative clarification on this. So staff believes that you had said that it's your home's, it's your son's home?
Yes.
Okay, okay. And just to clarify, as a home-based occupation, you're aware that your father's going to be utilizing that basement?
He's actually utilizing it. I'm just giving him the money.
Okay, okay, so it is your home occupation. We hadn't heard from you, so just making sure.
Yes,
that
it
we're-
is my home occupation. He's just my agent.
Okay. And then it has been mentioned that there's, the neighbors said that it's a bifurcation, there's 2 living areas or something like that. How many families live in the home?
Just 2.
Okay, okay, all right. But, so to clarify, you live in the house.
Correct.
A separate family lives in the house,
Correct.
but it is your home occupation.
Correct.
Very good. All right, staff has nothing further to add.
Okay. And the only other thing that I want to further complicate this, but the PVA does say just one name on here, Lisa Marie Mangos as the owner. Does that change anything?
That's what you're saying.
Does that,
Let's just clarify.
okay.
And then, who is Lisa is the question.
His wife.
My name is John Mangos.
Okay.
Yes, my mother and I purchased the home. I am on the mortgage documents. I'm not sure why only her name shows up, but I am the legal owner.
Okay. Does that change anything? Okay.
No.
Okay.
He's living there, he's the owner.
Okay,
So-
all right, I just want to make sure.
And,
I'm covering our bases on it, that's fine. Okay. Any other questions? Frank, you good?
No, sir. I'm good.
Anybody want to make a motion? Okay.
Yeah, I'll make a motion. I'm gonna make a motion to disapprove.
Do you need to state the reason?
Yeah.
I think to just, I mean, I know based on all the requirements that are met, and he's met all the requirements there, but I say it's just, who owns the business? Okay, so we've heard from your dad the majority of the time. So there's some questions that we need clarified from you as well. My time in the military as well, anything that had to do with weapons, two-person rule. You know, that doesn't mean you necessarily, I mean, it's gonna be enforced there, but it's just an accountability type of piece. Y'all talked about shipments. How are those shipments gonna come and go? I know they're gonna be monitored, but my thing is like sometimes if, to know what people out there might do, you gotta think like one.
Let's,
So,
if I
like-
may address these.
Right.
Just because my concerns were exactly yours. As I mentioned, this started off more as a hobby. And what we found was I couldn't even make one of these, or John couldn't make one and send it to me as his father. He couldn't do that. So not only do we pursue the FFL, the license to be able to sell, which the process itself includes access to a database for the background checks. Also, you can't just mail it. You have to go through and get the approval and let like UPS or the post office know that you're shipping firearms. And then they have their processes as well. It's called high risk. So regardless of what you did in the military, there are processes themselves that are official processes that say they have to follow this to say if you use this credit card, for example, we can only ship to that credit card address to avoid what you said, you know, for somebody doing something that they probably shouldn't. The same way with the payment gateways. Since this is going to be online, you can't just go through PayPal and make a purchase. You have to go through a specialized payment gateway that will also do the checks to make sure that your credit card is yours, it hasn't been reported stolen, whatever their processes are. And then as it goes through the shipping process, the shipping matches up with the credit card address. So everything that you said, definitely those are good, good things to have, but there's actual processes that quadruple what it is that you're familiar with to ensure that from start to finish, that firearm goes where it's intended by the intended purchaser. And additionally, there's also something called a straw man. I can't buy a firearm under my name and give it to my son with that intention. So there are certain legalities, and those are the kind of things that when the ATF gets involved, they share with us what their systems are, their tools that we have access to ensure that safety is met, to ensure that the processes are adhered to, and most importantly, to ensure that somebody who shouldn't have a firearm is not able to get that firearm, at least from the start to finish of you ordering anything else or going into a store to buy it. If you go into Bud's and you buy a gun and you hand it to some kid sitting there next to your car, there's nothing Bud's can do at that point, right? It is up to you. So if you purchase something from us and we send it to you through all these checks and balances, and at the end of the day, you still decide to do something else with it, or somebody breaks into your house or children go into your home, that is your responsibility as a gun owner, regardless if you accept it or not. That is the responsibility of a gun owner. And that's what this process is here for, to make sure that we follow all the ATF rules and regulations to have the FFL. It's not just granted to the hobbyist. It's not just granted to somebody who wants to just sell one gun. There are the checks and the balances. There's the audits to ensure safety. There's the audits to ensure that you're selling only to people that are qualified and that don't have the negative aspects that they shouldn't have, like if they're convicted felon or if they have you know, some kind of assault charges against them. There's a whole slew of things that restrict people from buying those firearms. We are being proactive to ensure that we follow those rules because just like everybody else in this room, we want to be safe as well. I don't want some kid walking around the neighborhood. I didn't know the neighborhood was as bad as you guys described, honestly, that scares me. But I don't want to have to worry about somebody getting a firearm that shouldn't have it. Through our processes, we are ensuring that every check and balance that's available to us through even the online platform where to sell them, it's not just something you go up to Spotify. They won't do it. You have to go through specialized online platforms that go through and do the confirmations that you're over 18, that you are who you are, things of that sort. So with all of those types of checks and balances, we're meeting and exceeding everybody's expectations in the room from a technology perspective. What you do at the very end of that cycle is, as a responsible gun owner, if you do not follow through as a responsible gun owner, any of us, that is our responsibility. Does that kind of go to where you were looking for?
Sort of. I mean, it's excellent, but one of the things I was thinking about was when you get things prepared for shipment and you jump through the hoops that you need to do, correct?
Yes.
And you're gonna walk out the door with that. And it's a complete, it could be used as a gun, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Somebody, just like, these are, I know, basically this could or could not happen, but out of what we're doing here, has this happened in Georgetown yet? Has there been a business like this?
Oh, good Lord, yes.
Okay, so they're all like that? Okay.
Are they in residential areas?
Yes.
Okay,
They're
no,
all
I
in
don't know.
residential
They're all in
areas.
residential
I don't know,
areas.
that's what I'm asking,
Yeah.
okay,
They
yes,
all
okay.
Yeah, we're both like, this is our first time on the board. And then I also, as a person that's sitting here on the board, want to think that I have the ability to say yes or no.
Well, but you
Because-
don't in this case. I understand that.
But what are we here for? I mean, my thing is
Because we
that,
can treat it like we can any other commercial use in a residential zone.
right,
Period. That does not mean we've got to talk about how he mails his goods. We can't say that about the person who's doing, again, the beauty shop.
Right.
That's state law. Period. I'd love it if you could.
The purview is conditional use permit for a business. That's
Right.
really
Period,
it.
period. And state
And
law
it
is
doesn't
very
matter
clear.
what the business is, right? Is that what you're saying? So that's why I'm
Well,
kind of confused
actually, that
there.
is true too. As long as they're listed, they have to
Yeah.
be listed.
Yeah, I know what you're saying about that
But we
part.
can't even refuse to list this.
Yes.
State law says he is entitled to do this. All we could do is parking, hours, traffic, and all that, period. So, all the other stuff, especially frankly hypotheticals, we can't do hypotheticals, period. We've got to have findings of fact to do anything on any of them. But we can't do anything on this one except parking, lighting.
Just like
noise,
any other business.
such as firing on site. Bingo, we can talk about that.
Right.
I guess I'm just confused because we hear people for and against this. So I'm trying to think, like, when our hands are tied, that we should follow the approval of what staff gives us, follow the approval of what requirements are met.
On
Why
this
do
one,
we-
yes, because I read you the
But why do we
statute.
listen to the against part? That's why I'm like, it's.
There
it
are no
just doesn't
statutes like
seem-
this on anything else.
Right.
Period. This is one of those things, and this is no reflection on you all, but we're a gun-crazy place.
Thank you.
We have a statute
Yes.
on it, and that makes the difference. We've got far more discretion in just about anything else.
Right.
We don't in this one.
And Jeremy, if I may, what you described, and we're not doing the what-if scenarios, but our process to ship those guns out are actually safer than if you were a conceal and carry and you got mugged out of your home and somebody took your weapon. Because what you described is a mugging. We're not going to have signage. We're going to have different addresses for people that would be able to get their stuff. Unless, one of the fine neighbors starts, putting posters up saying, we don't want this, people won't know that we're there. It's going to be very low volume, and it's going to be very discreet. And as it sounds like from Mr. Perkins, there might be some leeway on what we would want to do as a business owner, but we want what everybody else wants. We want discreetness, but we want to satisfy a small market.
Holden, go ahead.
Yeah, and just to clarify again, staff believes that primarily the purpose of this hearing, of receiving comments from the community, is to ensure that they did not have any concerns related to the issues that Mr. Perkins brought up. I'll further state again that the expectations with this particular permit is that the execution of this conditional use permit is in line with our local regulations, which do apply to all home-based occupations.
Sure.
So there's requirements for the amount of square footage, there's requirements related to signage, things of that nature. And so, one step further, this was brought up earlier, if there's a concern about signage being outside, and the applicant has agreed that they don't plan to put up signage, that may be an additional condition that's placed upon this, just to clarify that while it would be within their right to apply for a sign, the board may feel that that would not be a good idea.
If I can interrupt you, we can't do that.
But he just said
But listen, no, he didn't ask for one,
Right,
so
right,
we'll
right.
put in here, in fact, it's already written down. He didn't ask for one, so
Right.
none was approved.
Right.
And we don't want one,
We can't
so.
say a condition, you can't have one. We
Okay.
can't do that.
Okay,
Because we can't do that to anybody else. We can't do it to a firearms dealer.
okay.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yes, sir.
So do you still want to go through with that motion?
I guess not. I,
Okay.
Are there any other questions for me?
No. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, you weren't sworn in either earlier.
Did you,
Excuse me.
ma'am, did you swear
weren't
in?
sworn in either, so you swear affirm. Thank you. What's your name again?
What
Jackie
happened at the
Miller?
beginning here?
Yes.
Okay, go right ahead. Do you have a question, you have a question for the applicant?
Yes.
Go ahead.
When this UPS truck comes constantly to pick up these guns, okay? Do you not think that word of mouth of all these people in this subdivision are gonna find out those are guns?
They shouldn't. How should they?
Do you know the world now?
So if I
Especially
may,
with guns and
respectfully,
teenagers.
as I mentioned, UPS and those other FedEx, they have special protocols for the guns. What those protocols are, I don't know, but I can't just ship a gun via FedEx. And I cannot ship, as an individual, I cannot ship a pistol anywhere without the FFL.
And I don't, we can't put any conditions on
You can't, that
it.
truck's
No.
gonna
But
come
if-
there,
if
the
I
kids
may-
are gonna know
Not on
what's going
shipping, not on
I'll give
shipping.
you a copy of the statute which tells us what we can do.
And if I may, just one other thing,
Oh, it's ridiculous.
It's
but it's law.
ridiculous that you can't have a beauty parlor, but you can make guns.
No, no,
ex-
no, you,
We
hold
can
on,
regulate them
hold
the
on.
same.
They're the same. You can have a beauty parlor. This is a completely different application, but you could have one there.
Well, that's homeowners association.
That's, no, just for
That's
us,
not
just for us.
That's not us.
We can approve or deny, based on staff recommendations, a property to have a conditional use permit for a salon. Fill in the blank with several different things.
I just can't see doing this with all these young kids running around.
I understand.
I mean, we had golf cart nights. It's film. The kids are out riding their golf carts every night.
I understand where you're coming from. I do. I
We're
understand.
gonna get word of mouth of this.
how are they, I mean, I don't understand why this is an issue. The only way they're gonna talk is if you go to them and say, hey, that house is making guns, keep an eye on them, make sure your kids don't go there. We're not gonna have signage, we're not gonna advertise the address.
Yes, we do have to vote on it. Yeah.
I don't understand how this has become an issue.
If we want to approve it or not.
I mean, we're gonna have less shipments than a regular Amazon delivery. I mean,
This is one, we have a statute, so.
Okay.
okay.
Okay, now here we go.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the application based on staff recommendations.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Oh,
I'll
yes, sir.
oppose right here
Because we can't
for
do that.
Jeremy. Were you in favor of?
No.
You have to say that.
Okay, no, I'm not in favor.
All right, so 3-2?
Yes.
Yep, I'm not in favor.
Okay, I got it.
You got those? Okay, so with 3-2, it does pass. So the motion does pass for approval. Thank you all. Thank you. Anything else from staff before we close out? Okay. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all. Thank you all for your time.